UFC Noche, UFC 306 is finally here. Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili are fighting. This is basically Conor McGregor versus Khabib at home, right? That's probably exactly what it is, and it's exactly what everybody thinks it is. But is Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili Conor McGregor versus Khabib at home, like a great value version? Not really. We're going to talk about all that today, as well as Grasso Shevchenko. We're going to be talking about Ignacio Bahamondes. We're going to be talking about all of that. The entire card. Probably not the entire card, but the good parts of the card, because there's plenty of good parts coming to this event. And we're going to start it off with Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili, because that's kind of the main event. A lot of people are giving this card a lot of flack because of the lack of star power, but if you look all on the left side down on Tapology, as a matter of fact, I'm not going to go there yet. I got a third camera view right up here that I'm kind of trying to show off now. But Merab Dvalishvili and Sean O'Malley are kind of the star of the show. And it's Mexican all the way down the left side of Tapology for the most part, but you also got Brian Ortega, who is seen as Mexican. I mean, this is going to be an incredible event, but we're not talking about the event. We're not talking about that yet. That will be in the post show, so we can see actually what the UFC has in store for us, because I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of pomp and circumstance. This is not Conor McGregor and Khabib. This is a completely dynamically different fight. Merab Dvalishvili is not Khabib Nurmagomedov. Sean O'Malley is not Conor McGregor. So first of all, Sean O'Malley does a lot of switching. A lot of switching. He switches from southpaw to orthodox, orthodox to southpaw. And remember, that's how he caught Aljamain Sterling. He shifts back, I think he was to southpaw, and catches him with the left cross. That switching dynamically changes the fight. It changes how this fight is. And then that doesn't even start to go in on the differences between Khabib and Merab Dvalishvili. Now, Merab Dvalishvili has this really rich and different background of judo. He's done combat sambo, and of course he's from Georgia, so you know he's done folk style chadalba growing up, which is the folk style wrestling in Georgia. But the thing is about that, all of those are jacket style wrestling. So his style of wrestling is completely different from anything we've ever seen. Not really. I won't say anything we've ever seen. Let me take that back. Rewind that. Blah, 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 blah. It is a unique style from anything Sean O'Malley's ever seen. And I will stand by that. So what's so different about it? Why is he different from Aljamain Sterling, who Sean O'Malley fended off in the clinch in the first round of their fight? Teammates, right? They should be similar. They're not. See, Sterling likes to get to the legs, likes to backpack you and ride you out. Merab Dvalishvili is constantly taking you down, taking you down, taking you down, taking you down, running the pipe, just destroying you. And he does this with sweeps more often than not. Okay? So he's looking to sweep the feet. That's something Sean O'Malley hasn't had to deal with. Can Merab Dvalishvili catch his kicks? Can he sweep Sean O'Malley to the ground and get some ground control? That's where it's going to win the fight. We also have the fact that Merab Dvalishvili's chin is not the same as Khabib Nurmagomedov's chin. If you remember, nothing hurt Khabib. Nothing. Dustin Poirier had him hurt one point in time, but he was hardly ever actually hurt. He was hardly ever in a bad way. Merab has been. Cejudo hurt him. Marlon Moraes hurt him. Cejudo's a flyweight, and he hurt him. Marlon Moraes, I can give him the BOTD of that, because like Marlon Moraes has some pop. Like, love him or hate him now because of what he's become, this shell of his former self, this guy who's barely alive. But he gets rocked a lot. And he leaves himself exposed all the time. There's knees. Sean O'Malley, if you remember the Cheeto Vera fight, he caught Vera with that knee that sounded like a baseball bat going upside his head. Yeah, he catches Merab with that. Merab might go out. And Marlon Moraes puts people out. Cejudo kind of puts people out. We don't count the dehydrated TJ Dillashaw. But Merab will get put out by Sean O'Malley. So this fight's dynamically different. Now, it could play out the same to where Merab's constantly hunting the takedown, eventually gets the sweep. Against the fence, he even does the sweeps too, kind of like we've seen Leon Edwards do against Nate Diaz. We see all that all the time against the fence. You reap the leg and take him down. Curtis Blaydes does it. Merab Dvalishvili does it too. If you go back and watch Petr Yan, he did it in the 5th round when he had Yan gassed. So, can he get him to the ground? That's the big question. Because it is a hard fight for Merab Dvalishvili. There's a lot of firepower coming back his way. There's a lot. There's a lot of pace coming Sean O'Malley's way too, though. Think about that. Sean O'Malley might not be used to this pace that Merab Dvalishvili brings, because he came up against a Aljamain Sterling who did have a good pace, but it was a lot of kicks. Merab's going to punch, he's going to shoot, he's going to do everything he can. Chito Vera is the complete opposite of volume. We know Chito Vera is not coming with a lot of volume at all. So how's O'Malley going to react? And I think that's the big question of this fight. I think that's the big question on, is Sean O'Malley going to be ready for the pace of Merab Dvalishvili? Now, it goes both ways, these kind of questions too, because like, what's Merab going to do with the power and the craftiness of Sean? And Sean doesn't move back in a straight line. He's always moving lateral, kind of like you see Adesanya do. Does Merab have the ability to find that Alex Pereira left hook as he's exiting? Pereira kills people with the left hook as they're exiting laterally. And you think like in MMA, you're thinking like, oh, lateral movement is the death of all wrestlers. But like, there's always that high kick that Merab throws, that spinning back kick he throws. If he can find out when Sean's going out laterally against the cage, he can't go backwards if he's against the cage, right? He's against the cage. He can't go backwards. So if you could throw that spinning back kick or just the high kick as he's going out, think Henry Cejudo versus Dominic Cruz, or I'm losing a break, Chito Vera, when he knocked out Dominic Cruz. I think it was Dominic Cruz. Regardless, both of them had that step-up high kick as their opponents exiting laterally. So there's answers there for Merab striking. The answer is going to obviously be to wrestle. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, you need to wrestle. But we don't know if he's actually going to wrestle. So, or if he's going to be able to, because Sean O'Malley works on his takedown defense. He's been doing it since he got in the UFC. Everybody knows what he's going to do. He's going to be a dynamic striker. He's going to be hard to take down, but somebody can take him down. It's either Merab versus Umar, or Umar. That's the two people. So yeah, the fight's dynamically different from Conor versus Khabib. They're completely different fighters on both sides. All four of them are completely different fighters. I mean, the idea is like, oh, Sean's a striker and Merab's a wrestler, just like Conor's a striker and Khabib's a wrestler. But yeah, I don't think this is the exact same thing. So it's going to be different, and it's going to be interesting to play out. It's going to be interesting to see what's different about this fight going into it, seeing how these two guys approach this fight differently. Because Merab isn't going to be fighting anybody he's ever fought before, someone as dynamic as him. You know, he fought Aldo, and all he did was hug him against the fence for 5 rounds, or however 3 rounds, whatever it was in Salt Lake City. He wrestled Henry Cejudo, the Olympic gold medalist. There's a lot of differences in this fight, and I find it incredibly fun and incredibly interesting. Do we care about Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko 3? This is the third fight. The first one was Grasso controversially winning. The second fight was a controversial draw. Do we care about this fight? No. The coming of Deigo Lopes, though. That's going to be great. He's fighting Brian Ortega. Finally. Ortega and him were supposed to fight recently, and Deigo Lopes was like, hey, I think it was UFC, yeah, it was UFC 300. Ortega was like, his opponent pulls out. Deigo Lopes steps in, he's like, heck yeah, I'd fight Brian Ortega. Yeah, he's ranked above me, and he's prime picking. But Ortega pulls out. Deigo Lopes is like, hey, I'm not worried about it. Let's go over to the web real quick and see, what was that? Who was that he fought? Now, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, that's right, duh. Let's see here. Dan Ige, that's right. Ige stepped in. So look, Ortega was supposed to fight. Who was he supposed to fight that card? Yair, he was supposed to fight Deigo Lopes the whole. Oh, that was because they had it for 303 and they moved both that and the Pereira Prohaska 2 fight from 300, from 303 to 300. Yeah, this is a fun fight, man. Deigo Lopes, if you're looking at this, like, man, he is a incredibly fun fighter. And I don't think I went to the web just now. I'm sorry, guys. He was an incredibly fun fighter, and his rise has been great. Let's look at Deigo Lopes' rise, because he is now 4-1 in the UFC. His first fight was short notice against Movsar Evloev, who we know is like the number 2 contender or something like that now. Hold on. I got the rankings pulled up right here. Featherweight number... Okay, so Evloev 6. Never mind. I kind of... if you zoom in, let's go over. See, you got Evloev. You got Arnold Allen Ortega's number 3. So this will put Deigo Lopes right above Brian Ortega. Evloev and Sterling are going to fight. Ooh, that's a fun fight. Oh, man, that's good. We're not going to go into that right now, but that is a good fight. Yeah, so this fight's super fun. The history behind it's kind of, interesting, kind of intriguing, but also not at the same time. Like, I could do without it. Like, I'd still watch this fight even if they didn't, like, or even if Ortega didn't really do this. But, like, I think the real big allure of this fight is, like, the jiu-jitsu. Brian Ortega's jiu-jitsu is second to none in the featherweight division, unless it's Deigo Lopes, who might be better than him, but we don't know. I think Deigo Lopes' path to victory in this is going to be more or less in the striking department. I think Lopes' striking is much better than Ortega's, whose boxing's come a long way. In the wrestling, but not necessarily the grappling. So if you can control him against the fence and grind on him against the fence and hurt him, because if he can put away Deigo Lopes, or if he can put away Brian Ortega, like, that's a huge statement for Deigo Lopes. Volkanovski had to basically get the refs to say, hey, that's enough. Max Holloway, same thing. Brian Ortega's really good at getting beat up, by the way, if you haven't noticed. But I feel like Lopes' path to victory is with the hands. I don't know if I'd want to test that jiu-jitsu of Ortega, who did rebound with a really good win over Yair Rodriguez. So we see he can hold his own, and he did manage to get a couple takedowns there too. So there is some opportunity there for Brian Ortega to show some improvement. What are we going to see? Who knows? The fight's going to be a blast, though. From start to finish, these two guys are going to be going, and it's going to be a barn burner. I'm pretty confident, though, that Deigo Lopes is going to be like, hey, we're going to the ground, buddy. Let's see what you're made of. And that's really interesting, because if Deigo Lopes can dominate on the ground, I'm talking looking like Alexander Volkanovski, smashing him out after escaping the triangle. That's a statement. And that's a statement to Ilia Topuria or Max Holloway, whoever wins in the next pay-per-view. That's a huge statement. And I would love to see it, because those guys really couldn't, who put away? Hold on, let's see. Who put away Ortega? Who put away Brian Ortega? Was it... Okay, so Yair had the round 1 shoulder. Okay, so yeah, it was Max. Volkanovski and him went the distance, even though it was close. Max had the doctor stoppage at the end of round 4. So yeah, the rise of Deigo Lopes has been crazy, though. Movsar Evloev, then he beats Gavin Tucker, a grappler, right? Triangle armbar, first round. Pat Sabatini, Sadiq Yusuf. Like, he's had no breaks. Like, look at this. Evloev, Gavin Tucker, Pat Sabatini is the worst win he has. Sadiq Yusuf and Dan Ige. The kid is great, man. And I can't wait for him to show up at UFC 306. That's going to be so much fun. Oh, it's a fun thing. Oh, I love it. This card is actually not as bad as everybody says. What else is on UFC 303? Or 306, not 303. What am I saying? They got some good sneaky matches on this card. Okay, so don't let the regular people out there tell you, oh, this card is terrible. Let's go down this list real quick before we get out of here for the day. Let's see, O'Malley Dvalishvili for the bantamweight championship, and then you got Grasso versus Shevchenko. Again, we don't care. Ortega Deigo Lopes, Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovics. That's a really good fight. Both of them have won, lost 13-1, 15-1. Zeb Heller, I can't say his name, has beat Prado. Christos Yagos is a fairly decent win. Trey Ogden handed him his win. He beat Lucas Almeida on the Contender Series, so you know he's legit. Esteban Ribovics, where do I remember him from? Oh yeah, Terrence McKinney, that head kick knockout that left McKinney smiling and slumped against the cage. That's a real good fight. Oh, that's a good fight. Let's see, where are we? Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Ode Osborne. That's a decently fun fight. Irene Aldana and Norma Dumont is a sneaky good fight because they both have fairly good hands. I look for Norma Dumont to kind of just jab her way into this. Although this 135 weight cut, because remember she was fighting at 145, might really be the hurt of her. Manuel Torres versus Ignacio Bahamondes. This is a really fun fight. Manuel Torres is a monster. What is he in the UFC? 3-0. He's beat some. Where'd that go? Go back. Get out of there. He beat, not great fighters. Frank Camacho's okay. Nicholas Mota, good win. He's got all first round knockouts though. An elbow, rear naked choke, so he could do it all. He beat Chris Duncan. Anybody in? Nobody there. And he's fighting Ignacio Bahamondes, who's one of my favorite lesser known fighters, let's just say. Bahamondes is coming off the win over Christos Yagos, a first round head kick. Bahamondes, you're going to see a lot of switching from him, but not like Sean O'Malley. So he's going to switch and then he's going to decide to strike. So Sean O'Malley switches to set up a cross or set up a counter. Bahamondes switches to strike out of southpaw or to strike out of orthodox. He switches, he changes his mindset, and then he goes. So that's a bit different. But he's got some good wins. He beat Rongzhu with a Bravo choke, which is crazy. That wheel kick over Roosevelt Roberts. McDessie gave him like a really hard fight. Did he miss weight or did McDessie miss weight there? He missed weight. He was above the contracted limit. Okay. Trey Ogden, he beat via decision. Ludovic Klein handily beat him. So that's a good fight. That's one y'all want to watch because it's going to be just an action pack. And that's like the second to last prelim. Yasmin Yaguari versus Ketlin Souza. Okay. Edgar Chairez versus Joshua Van. All of the nerds are all over Joshua Van. And Joshua, he's a great fighter, but man, he's kind of that loss he had against Charles Johnson, that right uppercut. He looked good in that fight, has real good body work, so that's somebody you want to watch. And Edgar Chairez, I don't know much about him if I'm being honest with you, but if he'll pull up, there it is. Let's see, who has he fought in the UFC? He's 1-1. Beat Lacerda. I don't remember that fight. Flyweight, he was above the contract, missed his weight. And then the Tatsuro Tyrell. Okay, so yeah, Tatsuro Tyrell beat him. This will be a fun fight. And then of course our king Chiwiwis is back against Ariki Lang. Now this is a sneaky fight. So Raul Rosas, if you look here, there it is. Raul Rosas is coming off his win over Ricky Tercios. He's had some good wins over Terrence Mitchell, lost to Christian Rodriguez, but he beat Jay Perrin. He's getting the treatment. He's fighting. He's a young guy. How old is he now? 19. So still super young. Youngest fighter ever in the UFC. But he's fighting Ariki Lang now. Ariki Lang is a banger, man. Now he's not. Go back. He is not invincible by any means. 8 wins. He's 3-3 and 1 in the UFC with Marcos being an intentional groin strike. But he's beat names like Munoz Jr. and Jay Perrin. But he's also lost to Cody Durden and Jeff Molina and Ayman Zahabi. I could see Ariki Lang really coming in here to upset, because is he the favorite? Let's see who's the favorite in this card. Oh, no, don't click that, you dummy. Let's see who the favorite on this fight is. I'm willing to bet it's Raul Rosas. Ooh, he's a huge favorite over Ariki Lang. He's got 25-11. So, what are we doing here? Good fight though. This is a decent card. A lot of people are poo-pooing on it and stuff, and I'm like, better than you would actually think. Don't forget, we've got the TFL family. So if you go to my Substack and sign up, it's $5 a month, super cheap. We've got a real deep, in-depth look of Merab Dvalishvili and how he does his foot sweeps. We talked a lot about that today. So go sign up for that. The link is going to be in the description if you want to get in on that. You can use a free preview and read the whole article yourself and cancel after if you really want to, or if you want to support the channel, give me a little love. You know what I mean? We talked also a lot about the switch with Sean O'Malley and Ignacio Bahamondes, and I mentioned that the switch, you can really either switch and then fight, or you could switch to set up your counters, and that's exactly what Alexander Volkanovski does. And in this film study, we do study what Alexander Volkanovski does, how he sets up his switches, how he uses his switches to attack. So that's something you absolutely want to go and check out.